Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. The rivers of thought begin quietly, deep within the landscape of your mind. Like streams that find their way through mountains, they flow with no single direction at first, drifting and spreading across the soft terrain of your brain. Each thought you have leaves a trace behind, a gentle current pressing against the banks of invisible valleys. Over time, those currents carve deeper, creating paths that grow easier to follow. This is how the mind rewires itself. Not with force or noise, but with the slow persistence of water shaping stone. Imagine for a moment that your thoughts are droplets of rain. They fall with quiet rhythm, soaking into the earth of your memory. Some droplets vanish, absorbed quickly, leaving no mark behind. Others gather into tiny rivulets, joining together until they become streams. These streams are your patterns of thought, the little habits of mind you return to again and again. As they grow, they etch themselves into the landscape of your brain, creating channels where new thoughts will almost naturally want to flow. This is the gentle art of neuroplasticity, the hidden ability of the brain to change itself through the simple act of living and thinking. Scientists describe it in technical words, but at its heart the idea is simple. Every time a thought travels along a path, the path becomes more familiar. Cells called neurons stretch out their tiny branches, reaching toward each other like trees leaning across a forest. When the same thought passes again, those branches clasp tighter, sending sparks more easily. This is learning. This is memory. But beyond that, it is reshaping. Your brain is never still. It is a living riverbed, carved each day by the flow of what you feel, what you do, and what you imagine. You can almost see it if you close your eyes. Picture a forest at dusk, its roots hidden beneath the soil. Each root is a thread of thought, a delicate filament glowing faintly with life. When you revisit a memory, the glow brightens, as though a lantern had been lit deep beneath the earth. When you practice a skill, the threads twist closer together, weaving into a stronger cord. And when you let go of a thought or allow a memory to fade, the glow softens until it is only the faintest whisper. The brain is not fixed like stone. It is alive, tender, and ever-changing. This quiet plasticity is why you can learn a new song even late in life, why you can recover after loss, why you can reshape sadness into peace. It does not mean the brain forgets its old paths. Like dried riverbeds, old patterns remain etched into the soil, waiting for rain to return. But even as those paths linger, new ones can always form. A person is never fully finished. With every day, the rivers of thought keep flowing, and the valleys of the mind keep deepening. Consider the first time you tried to ride a bicycle. The wobble of balance, the strange pull of gravity beneath you. At first, the signals in your brain rushed in many directions, uncertain, scattered like raindrops on a wide plain. But with each try, the signals began to gather, pouring into a channel that grew stronger with every attempt. The branches of neurons reached out and their sparks crossed more swiftly. What was once strange became natural, until at last your feet pressed the pedals without thought, and balance held you steady like an invisible hand. The path had been carved. Yet the brain is not only about learning, it is also about forgetting. A river that no longer flows begins to dry, its edges softening back into the earth. Neurons that do not send their sparks begin to drift apart, their branches shrinking like autumn leaves. This is not a loss but a gift, for it makes space for new rivers to form. Your mind is like a forest that prunes itself gently, letting go of what is no longer needed so that new growth can rise. This is why you may forget the details of a day-long past but still carry its feeling, like the scent of rain that lingers even after the storm has gone. Now imagine a starry night sky stretched across the horizon of your mind. Each star is a point of connection, a spark between neurons. Some shine brighter, linked to countless others, while some remain faint, waiting for your attention. When you think deeply about something, it is as though you draw new lines between stars, creating constellations that had never been seen before. With every thought, the sky rearranges, the shapes shifting like living art. This is your inner cosmos rewiring itself while you dream, while you wonder, while you simply live. The rivers of thought do not flow alone. They are guided by the waves of chemicals that move silently through your brain, carrying messages of joy, sorrow, excitement, or calm. These chemicals are the scents of the inner forest, the breezes of the inner sky. Dopamine lights the way with small bursts of pleasure, rewarding new paths when they lead to discovery. Serotonin drifts like a soft mist, steadying the flow of thought and bringing a sense of balance. Each molecule adds its touch to the shaping of the rivers, painting the landscape in colours you cannot see but can always feel. Even in silence, your brain continues this work. As you rest, the rivers still flow. They replay the day's paths, strengthening some, dissolving others. In dreams, the currents twist and mingle, testing strange directions, exploring unknown valleys. And when you wake, you carry with you the traces of this quiet sculpting. Sometimes it appears as a solution to a problem, arriving like sunlight after a long night. Sometimes it is only a softer mood, a sense of peace with something that once felt heavy. Even in stillness, the brain rewires, because thought itself is never still. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it. Not a loud sound, but the faint trickle of water across stone. A spark leaping from one branch to another. A forest breathing. A sky shifting its stars. All of these images belong to the hidden truth of your mind. It is always changing. The you who began this moment is not quite the same as the you who rests here now. Your thoughts have flowed, your paths have deepened, your rivers have carved a little more of the endless valley that is your being. And so, as we drift through this story, you may begin to feel the quiet wonder of it all. That every thought you have is both an action and a creation. That to think is to shape. That to feel is to sculpt. That your mind is not a fixed place, but a living riverbed, ever shifting, ever renewing. Like water against stone, gentle yet unstoppable, your thoughts continue to carve the inner landscape where your self resides. And in that gentle flow, you are always becoming, always new. Let us drift deeper into the rivers of thought and see how they shape not just learning, but the very fabric of who you are. Each path carved in the brain is more than a memory. It is a mark of experience woven into your being. The neurons that fire together, binding their sparks, become like travelling companions who grow closer with each journey. Their bonds tighten, and soon the road they share becomes easier to walk, as though the forest itself had cleared a trail for them. This is the beauty of practice, of habit, of repetition. It is not mere mechanical memory, but the architecture of identity being built, stone by gentle stone, spark by gentle spark. Consider the musician who touches a piano key each morning. At first her fingers stumble, the melody uncertain, each note a drop of rain seeking its way. But with each practice her brain refines the path, smoothing the current of thought into a steady stream. The sound becomes fluid, and the notes no longer live only in her fingers but also in the wiring of her mind. The piano is no longer outside of her, it has become a part of her, etched into the rivers of her thoughts. This is the truth of neuroplasticity. The brain folds the world into itself, reshaping to carry every new skill, every new understanding as though they were seeds planted in its soil. But it is not only in music or in learning that this sculpting occurs. Even your emotions carve their own valleys in the brain. When you smile at the sight of a loved one, tiny sparks ripple across familiar paths, reminding you of warmth and safety. Each repetition deepens those grooves, making joy easier to return to. The same is true of sorrow, of worry, of fear. They too can carve their rivers, sometimes running deep, sometimes flowing for years. Yet even then, the brain is never final. With patience, new rivers may be dug, guiding the waters of thought toward calmer valleys, toward gentler fields. The landscape of the mind is both fragile and enduring, a place where scars and blossoms grow side by side. Now imagine a garden at dawn, dew shimmering on every leaf. Each plant is a neuron, each root a branching axon, each blossom a glowing synapse. As the sun rises, the garden awakens, and messages pass like pollen drifting from one flower to another. Some blossoms brighten as memories are recalled, while others close as certain thoughts are left aside. The gardener of this inner world is time itself, time spent in practice, in feeling, in reflection. With every passing day, time tends the soil of your brain, pruning what is unused, feeding what is cherished. Slowly, gently, your mental garden changes, never static, always in bloom. In children, this growth is like springtime, wild and abundant. Their brains are fields of fertile soil, where every experience takes root quickly, where every river cuts swiftly into the landscape. A single song can be learned in days, a language absorbed like sunlight. The rivers are soft then, the stones easy to shape. But even in adulthood, the carving never ends. It slows, yes, like the maturing of a forest, but the seeds of change remain. New branches can sprout, even from old roots. A tree bent by wind may straighten toward the sun again, and a mind long set in its ways can find new paths, new thoughts, new joys. Science has shown this in the lives of those who recover from injury. A stroke may silence one path, leaving speech or movement lost, but with care and practice new rivers may be forged. The brain learns to reroute its currents, to flow around the stones that block its way. Neurons in distant regions stretch their branches, building bridges where none existed before. Slowly, a word is spoken again, a hand is lifted, a step is taken. Is a reminder that the brain is not a machine with fixed parts but a living landscape, one that finds ways to renew itself even when storms have passed through. This adaptability is also the reason why habits, good or bad, settle so deeply into us. Each repetition is like a drop of water falling into the same groove, carving it deeper with every fall. To change a habit is to redirect a river, to ask the waters to find a new valley. It is difficult, not because it is impossible, but because the old groove is well worn and the river prefers the familiar way. Yet with patience and intention, drops can be guided to fall in a different place, to carve slowly a new path, until one day the water flows there as if it had always belonged. The old groove may remain, faint and dry, but the new stream carries the life of your present self. Think of the way language shapes the brain. When you learn a new word, your neurons stretch out their branches, forming connections to the sounds, the meanings, the emotions tied to it. Over time, these connections knit together until the word becomes part of your thinking, part of how you see the world. Entire cultures, entire ways of perceiving, live within the folds of the brain, encoded in these rivers of thought. To learn a language is not just to gain vocabulary, it is to reshape your mind, to carve new valleys where new patterns of meaning can flow. At night, when you sleep, your brain continues its quiet work. The rivers replay, the sparks travel their well-worn paths, and the weaker connections soften away. Dreams are like wandering streams, flowing freely, exploring new directions. And when you wake, your mind carries both the pruning and the growth. Some memories have deepened, others have faded, and your inner landscape is just a little different than it was the day before. Sleep is the gardener's rest, and yet it is also the time when the most delicate shaping occurs. Even your very thoughts of yourself, the way you say "I am this" or "I am not that," are built upon these rivers. If you tell yourself "I cannot change," the river deepens in that direction until it feels like truth. But if you whisper softly, "I am becoming," then the water shifts, finding a new way forward. The brain listens to your stories. It bends itself to the tales you repeat. This is why kindness to yourself is more than comfort. It is rewiring. It is teaching your mind to carve valleys of gentleness, to grow gardens of resilience, to carry rivers of hope. Look again to the sky within your mind, its constellations shifting as sparks leap between neurons. Each night, new patterns emerge. Each day, new lines are drawn. You are the artist of these constellations, though you may not always realize it. Every thought is a brushstroke, every emotion a color, every memory a star placed in the vast canvas of your inner firmament. Over time, the shapes change, the skies renew themselves, and your inner cosmos continues its quiet, eternal dance. And so, the rivers of thought are not just streams of memory or skill. They are rivers of identity, rivers of becoming. They remind you that your brain is not a closed book, but a story still being written. Each day adds a line, each thought a gentle mark, till your life itself is a map of valleys and stars, of forests and rivers, all flowing, all alive, all endlessly rewiring while you think. Now, let us follow the rivers of thought toward their quiet resolution, and see how they shape the gentle arc of your days. The wiring of your brain is not only about learning or memory, it is about the unfolding of your very existence. Every morning when you wake, the rivers begin to stir, carrying with them the patterns you have carved across a lifetime. The way you greet the light, the way you carry your breath, the way your thoughts drift toward joy or worry. Each is a reflection of the grooves your mind has etched. And yet, even in these familiar flows, there is always room for change. Each sunrise offers the chance for a new current, a new path, a new way for the water to move. Think of the way a single experience can reshape the mind. A conversation with a stranger, a moment of awe before a vast sky, a small act of kindness. Each sends ripples through your neurons, shifting the patterns of thought. The branches of the brain stretch, the sparks leap in new directions, and suddenly the river bends. What once seemed impossible may now feel within reach. What once seemed heavy may grow lighter. The rewiring of your brain is not always grand or loud. More often it happens in these quiet, almost invisible moments when the flow of life brushes softly against your inner landscape. Science tells us that even your imagination can rewire you. When you picture yourself practicing a skill, the same rivers are engaged as if you were moving your body in truth. A dancer who dreams of her steps at night strengthens the very circuits she will use by day. An athlete who rehearses in the silence of his mind builds the paths his muscles will follow when the moment arrives. The brain does not always distinguish between the outer act and the inner vision. Both are water carving stone, both are seeds shaping the garden. To imagine is to create a softer rehearsal for becoming, and so the stories you tell yourself matter deeply. If you hold the thought that you are weak, your rivers deepen in that valley. If you hold the thought that you are strong, then those waters carve differently, and strength becomes more easily found. The brain listens, always. It rewires to the rhythms of your inner speech, weaving identity out of repetition. This is why hope can heal, why kindness can steady, why love can transform. It is not only emotion, it is architecture. Your thoughts are builders, and the house they raise is the self you inhabit. Now imagine yourself walking along the banks of a river at twilight. The water glows faintly, carrying reflections of the stars above. Each ripple is a thought, each bend a memory. As you follow the current, you see places where the river has shifted, new channels carved over time. Some are deep, rushing swiftly, while others are shallow, barely more than a trickle. This is your mind. This is the record of your living. And as you walk, you realize that the river is not finished. With each step, with each breath, with each passing of thought, the water reshapes itself anew. Even the act of paying attention rewires the brain. When you notice something, truly notice with stillness and care, the neurons involved strengthen their ties. A bird's song, if listened to deeply, can leave a mark in your mind that endures. A moment of gratitude, if held gently, can brighten the circuits of joy within you. Attention is the sunlight of the mental garden, coaxing blossoms to open, guiding growth toward warmth. Wherever you place your awareness, the rivers carve more deeply. And so, to live attentively is to sculpt yourself with intention, to shape the landscape of your being with care. The rivers also teach us about resilience. Life brings storms, floods, and droughts. At times, sorrow overflows, carving valleys of grief. At other times, silence dries the streams and thought feels heavy, unmoving. Yet the brain remains ready to change. Slowly, quietly, new tributaries appear. New sparks leap across the sky of the mind. Healing does not erase the old paths, but it allows new ones to grow beside them until balance returns. You are never bound only by what was carved before. You are always able to begin again, because the rivers will always flow. Consider how memory itself rewires while you think of it. Each time you recall a moment, you are not replaying it exactly as it was, you are reshaping it. The river deepens where it is revisited, but its course may change slightly, guided by your present feelings. A memory of childhood laughter may glow brighter when thought of in love, or softer when thought of in longing. The brain does not store the past like stone. It stores it like water, always moving, always changing with each touch. In this way, your past is alive within you, fluid, evolving, never still. Even in aging, the rivers continue. Though some currents slow and some valleys deepen into silence, the flow does not stop. The older brain, though less quick in certain ways, holds a richness the young brain does not. The layers of countless rivers, the patterns of a lifetime of thought. New connections can still form, new paths can still be carved, though they may require more patience, more time. The mind remains alive, capable of bloom, even as the years drift gently onward. The rivers of thought do not cease until the very end, and even then, the valleys they have carved remain in the memories of others, in the ripples left in the world you touched. So let us close this story where it began, with the rivers flowing quietly through the landscape of your mind. Every thought is water-shaping stone, every feeling a current winding its way through valleys unseen. You are not fixed, not frozen, not unchangeable. You are a living riverbed, always forming, always renewing, always becoming. When you think, you are not only remembering or imagining, you are carving. You are sculpting the self that wakes with you each day, the self that carries your story, the self that changes as gently as water flows. And as the rivers of thought continue their journey tonight, may you feel their softness within you. May you know that every moment is a chance to shape anew, every breath an invitation to flow in gentler ways. Your brain rewires while you think, and in that quiet truth lies endless possibility. You're always moving, always becoming, always alive in the flow of thought. Like rivers under starlight, your mind is ever shifting, ever beautiful, ever changing. And in this endless motion you are free. Memory begins as a spark, small and fleeting, glowing only for a moment before it either fades or takes root. Within your brain, these sparks are not just metaphors, but real flashes of electricity that leap from one neuron to another. Each spark is like a firefly in the twilight of your mind, lighting up briefly as an experience is felt, as a moment passes through you. Some fireflies vanish quickly, never to be seen again. Others cluster, forming constellations of memory that guide you across the map of your life. The silent sparks that shape memory are always moving, always flickering, always building the foundation of who you are. Imagine standing beside a still pond on a quiet evening. The surface is calm, reflecting the soft glow of the moon. Now imagine dropping a pebble into the water. Ripples spread outward, circling, crossing, fading into the edges. This is how memory begins. A moment touches your mind and ripples spread through the neurons, sending signals outward in delicate waves. Some ripples fade almost at once, like the fleeting detail of a passing face in a crowd. Others grow stronger, reinforced by thought and feeling, until they ripple again and again, echoing into the deeper layers of your brain. It is in these echoes that memory finds its home. Scientists describe this process as the strengthening of synapses, the places where neurons meet. When a spark leaps from one branch to another, it leaves behind a trace, a small change that makes the leap easier next time. If the leap happens again, the path grows stronger. It is as though the fireflies learn to gather in the same places, lighting up a little brighter each time they meet. Over days, weeks, years, These sparks weave into a network of glowing threads, forming the fabric of your remembered life. Yet the process is silent, hidden beneath thought, so gentle that you rarely feel it happening. Your brain remembers quietly without fanfare, with the patience of water carving stone. Think of your earliest memory. Perhaps it is of a room filled with light, or the scent of a meal, or the warmth of a parent's hand. Though distant, it still lives in you, carried across decades by the sparks that refuse to fade. Each time you revisit it, the memory shifts slightly, reshaping itself. It is not a perfect recording, but a living impression, coloured by the feelings of your present self. When you remember a childhood laugh, you are also remembering how laughter feels to you now. The sparks that shape memory do not preserve moments like glass. They remake them like clay, soft and malleable, changing with every touch. There are different kinds of sparks, each carrying its own kind of memory. Some ignite the paths of skill, how to tie a knot, how to ride a bicycle, how to play a song. These sparks live deep in the body, so deeply that they guide you without conscious thought. Other sparks carry the stories of your life, the faces you have known, the places you have walked, the words you have heard. Still others hold the most subtle impressions, the smell of rain, the sound of wind against leaves, the way light once fell across a wooden floor. Each memory is a spark, but together they form a constellation, the glowing sky of your inner world. Now picture your brain as a great forest at night. Each neuron is a tree, each branch tipped with tiny lights. When memory stirs, some of the trees glow more brightly, their branches reaching toward one another, exchanging sparks. The forest is alive with quiet fire. Some areas blaze with recent memories, pulsing with activity. Others glow faintly, carrying memories long past. And far in the distance, some lights twinkle so faintly they are almost gone. Memories that linger only as whispers in the dark. This forest is vast, stretching endlessly, and within it your life is mapped in sparks, glowing silently, holding all that you have been. The sparks are not only for remembering, they are also for forgetting. Just as a firefly's glow fades, so too do certain memories dim over time. The neurons that no longer spark together begin to drift apart, their branches retracting. This is not failure but necessity. Forgetting clears space, allows the forest to grow, frees the brain from being crowded with every passing detail. Without forgetting, the mind would be heavy, burdened with clutter, unable to move with grace. Memory is balance, holding what matters, letting go of what does not, shaping a life that can continue forward. Yet some sparks are etched so deeply they can never fade. A sudden moment of fear, a burst of love, a loss, a triumph. These experiences flood the forest with light, sending ripples through every tree, every branch, every leaf. The stronger the feeling, the brighter the spark, and the more deeply it carves itself into the brain. This is why certain moments remain vivid across decades, while others vanish within days. The silent sparks listen not only to repetition, but to emotion. They remember what moves you, what shapes you, what leaves an imprint on the soft clay of your mind. Sleep is the tender keeper of memory. When you rest, your brain replays the sparks of the day, strengthening some, releasing others. It is as though the forest of your mind whispers to itself in the dark, deciding which paths to keep glowing and which to let grow quiet. In dreams, the sparks wander freely, connecting unlikely branches, weaving new constellations. Sometimes you awaken with a fresh idea, a sudden clarity, the result of sparks having travelled new routes in the night. The silent sparks never sleep. They work while you rest, sculpting the memories that will guide your tomorrow. Memory is not only about the past, it is about the future. The sparks you hold shape the way you imagine what is to come. When you picture tomorrow, your brain uses yesterday's sparks to create the image. When you prepare for a challenge, your neurons replay the echoes of past trials. The future is written upon the canvas of memory, painted with the colours of what you have lived. And so the silent sparks are not bound to history. They are also architects of what lies ahead, guiding your steps even before you take them. And so, as you breathe here and now, your mind is alive with these silent sparks. They flicker, they fade, they strengthen, they shift. They are the keepers of your stories, the guardians of your skills, the makers of your future. They work without sound, without announcement, shaping you with every moment. You are a constellation of memory, a glowing forest of sparks, a pond rippling with echoes of days gone by. And in this quiet, endless dance of light, you continue to remember, to forget, to become. Let us drift further into the silent sparks that shape memory, exploring how they weave together to create the vast and tender fabric of a life. Each spark by itself is small and almost fragile, but when many sparks ignite in rhythm, they form strong pathways, as though thousands of fireflies gathered into streams of light flowing through the night sky. This is how a memory becomes more than a moment. It becomes part of your identity, part of the architecture of your being, hidden deep within the folds of your brain, yet reflected in everything you say, everything you feel, everything you choose. Consider how your senses carry memories. The scent of pine may suddenly transport you back to a childhood forest, a place you have not walked in years. A fragment of music may awaken the echo of a summer evening, when you laughed with friends as the sky turned gold. These moments return not through deliberate effort, but through sparks travelling down hidden pathways, long forgotten yet never erased. The brain holds these associations quietly, storing them like seeds beneath the soil, waiting for the right rain to fall. When it does, the seeds awaken, the spark ignites, and the memory blooms anew, alive as though no time has passed. In the laboratory, scientists describe memory as patterns of activity across networks of neurons. But beneath the technical language lies something deeply human. Every time you recall a memory, you are not just retrieving it, you are reshaping it. The sparks do not replay the moment exactly as it was. Instead, they build it again, piece by piece, using fragments of the past stitched together by the present. This is why memories can change, why details shift, why stories evolve as they are retold. The silent sparks are both archivists and artists, keeping your past alive while also painting it anew with each recall. Now imagine a tapestry woven from glowing threads. Each thread is a pathway of sparks, each knot a synapse, where one neuron touches another. Some threads are bright and bold, easy to see, memories you revisit often, the stories you tell yourself again and again. Others are faint, tucked in the shadows of the weave, memories that surface only when stirred by chance. Together they form a living fabric, growing and shifting as you think, as you dream, as you age. The tapestry is never finished. Every day adds a new thread. Every thought, a new stitch, and though some threads fray and fade, the fabric holds strong, draped across the quiet expanse of your mind. The role of emotion in memory is like the dye that colours these threads. A neutral moment may pass with little trace, fading quickly into silence, but a moment filled with feeling burns brighter, and its spark leaves a deeper mark. This is why you remember where you were when something joyful or sorrowful happened, why a sudden shock or a moment of wonder can remain vivid for years. Emotion saturates memory, fixing it into the fabric with greater strength. The brain does not simply record, it prioritizes, choosing to hold close what matters to your heart. But there is another mystery in these sparks. They not only preserve, they also connect. Memories link to one another, forming chains that guide your thoughts. A smell may lead to a place, the place to a person, the person to a feeling. One spark ignites another, and soon a constellation of moments comes alive. This web of associations is how the brain finds meaning, how it weaves the scattered threads of life into stories. Without these silent sparks, there would be no continuity, no sense of self stretching across time. You would be only the present moment, untethered and fleeting. Memory ties you to yesterday, to tomorrow, to the arc of your becoming. Think of how learning depends upon these sparks. When you study something new, neurons reach out to one another, forming fresh synapses. At first, the pathway is delicate, the spark uncertain, like a small flame flickering in the wind. But with practice, the flame steadies. The neurons strengthen their bond, and the spark leaps more easily, until the knowledge becomes second nature. Whether it is learning a word, or mastering a skill, or recognizing a face, the process is the same. Sparks repeated until they become rivers of light, flowing without effort. Learning is memory in motion, memory becoming strength. Sleep, once again, is the guardian of this process. In the night, your brain revisits the sparks of the day, deciding which to keep and which to let fade. The hippocampus, a curved structure deep within your brain, plays the role of a librarian, moving memories from the fragile short-term shelves into the vast archives of long-term storage. During dreams, sparks travel along unusual paths, linking distant memories together. This is why creative ideas often arrive after rest, why problems that seemed impossible may feel clearer in the morning. The silent sparks are never idle. Even as you drift in sleep, they are busy weaving the tapestry of who you are. There is beauty, too, in the fragility of memory. The way some details slip away allows space for others to grow. You may forget the exact words of a conversation, but you remember the feeling it gave you. You may lose the image of a place, but carry the warmth of the moment spent there. Memory does not need to be perfect to be meaningful. Its gentle imprecision is part of its poetry, a reminder that we live not as machines, but as living beings, shaped as much by feeling as by fact. Even in silence, memory continues to guide you. When you reach instinctively for balance, when you smile at a familiar gesture, when you find comfort in a song, you are living the sparks without even noticing. They are the invisible companions of your every step, the quiet fireflies lighting your path. Without them, you would not know who you are, where you belong, or what tomorrow may hold. With them, you are a story, unfolding moment by moment, built from the glowing traces of all you have lived. And so, as we wander deeper into the forest of memory, we see that it's not simply a storehouse of the past. It is a living, breathing process, always reshaping, always guiding, always flickering with new light. The silent sparks are not bound to yesterday, they are the currents that carry you into tomorrow. To remember is to live twice, once in the moment itself, and again in the gentle glow of recollection. The sparks ensure that nothing is ever truly lost. Even when a memory fades, its influence lingers, a soft glow beneath the surface, shaping the rivers of thought that continue to flow through you. Let us now follow the sparks of memory to their gentle resolution, seeing how they live within us not only as records of the past, but as companions, shaping the very way we move through time. The silent sparks never cease. They flicker in every waking moment, and they hum softly through every dream. They are the threads of continuity between who you were, who you are, and who you are still becoming. Without them, life would be scattered like leaves in the wind. With them, it gathers into a story, flowing quietly, carrying the essence of self forward like a river that never truly ends. Consider how memory is woven into the simple rituals of your day, the way you brew tea or coffee, the rhythm of your steps on a familiar path, the phrases that come easily to your tongue. These are not new creations each time, but patterns shaped by sparks long rehearsed. Yet they do not feel stale. They feel comforting, grounding, like the roots of a tree holding you steady. The silent sparks provide not only recollection, but rhythm, a continuity that allows you to wake each morning and still know who you are, even when the world around you changes. Memories are also bridges. They carry you across the distance of time, linking the child you once were to the person you are now. When you see an old photograph, when you hear a melody from years past, sparks leap across those bridges, bringing the two selves together. For a moment, the past is not gone but alive within you, breathing in the present. This is why memory feels both tender and haunting, because it collapses time, letting yesterday walk beside today. The silent sparks are the keepers of this mysterious bridge, always ready to carry you across. Yet memory is more than personal, it is also collective. The stories told by families, the traditions passed down, the words spoken by ancestors, these too live in sparks, carried not only in your own brain, but in the brains of others. Each time a story is retold, new sparks are formed in the listener, and memory multiplies, expanding beyond the individual. A song sung by a grandparent becomes the spark of a grandchild's future recollection. In this way, memory is both individual firefly and shared constellation, linking generations together in the quiet glow of remembrance. The fragility of memory gives it a special beauty. We know that not everything will be preserved. We know that some details will fade, some moments will slip into silence, and yet, perhaps this impermanence is part of its meaning. The very act of holding on to something fleeting gives it weight. The silent sparks teach us to treasure what we cannot keep forever, to notice the softness of a voice, the warmth of a gesture, the light of a single afternoon. Each memory is a reminder that life itself is fragile, luminous, and precious. There are moments when memory surprises us. A scent drifting through the air may suddenly unlock a forgotten door. A word overheard may bring back a long-lost scene. These sudden recollections are like sparks, jumping unexpectedly across the forest of the mind, igniting branches that had lain in shadow for years. In these moments, the past comes rushing back, vivid and alive. It reminds us that memory is never gone, only waiting, hidden in the folds of the brain, ready to glow again when touched by the right spark. Even as memories fade with age, the silent sparks continue their quiet work. Some pathways grow weaker, some constellations dim, yet others remain bright. Music, emotion, and love are often the last sparks to flicker, glowing deep into the twilight of life. A song from youth may awaken joy, even when names are forgotten. A familiar embrace may spark recognition, even when words cannot be recalled. The brain, though it changes, always holds on to what matters most. The sparks tied to feeling, to connection, to love. Memory at its heart is not only information, it is emotion wrapped in light. The silent sparks also shape imagination. When you picture the future, you're not creating from nothing. You're rearranging fragments of memory, sparks borrowed from the past to light the path ahead. A dream of tomorrow is stitched from yesterday's fabric. Even creativity is memory reshaped, sparks leaping in new patterns, making constellations never seen before. In this way, memory is not backward-looking but forward-carrying. It is the wellspring from which both identity and possibility flow. And so we arrive at a gentle truth. You are not only your memories, but you are inseparable from them. They do not bind you, but they give you shape. They give you continuity. They give you depth. Without them, you would be a momentary flicker, but with them, you are a living story, flowing from the past into the future. The silent sparks carry this story faithfully, not as perfect recorders, but as artists, weaving your life into meaning. As you sit in the quiet of this moment, imagine the countless sparks glowing within you. Some bright, some dim, some newly formed, some ancient. Together they create the inner sky of your being, a universe of light that belongs only to you. And yet every spark you share, a word, a smile, a kindness, becomes part of someone else's constellation. Your memories are not only your own, they ripple outward, touching others, shaping the world around you. The silent sparks that shape memory are tender, fleeting, eternal in their way. They whisper that life is not meant to be held perfectly, but to be felt, to be cherished, to be shared. Each memory is a lantern carried through the night, lighting your path, guiding your steps, reminding you of where you have been, and hinting softly at where you may yet go. The sparks flicker, they fade, they return, and in their endless dance, they hold the quiet wonder of what it means to be alive. The brain is often called a forest of connections, and if you look closely enough, you may see why. Beneath the surface of your thoughts lies a vast and intricate garden, a place where billions of tiny branches stretch and intertwine. These branches are synapses, the delicate bridges between neurons. They are the blossoms of the mind, each one a point where sparks of electricity leap across the space between cells, carrying thoughts, memories, feelings, and dreams. The garden of synapses is always in bloom, quietly growing, pruning, reshaping like a living field that never sleeps. Imagine walking through this garden at dawn. The air is cool, the soil moist, and a gentle mist lingers among the leaves. Each neuron rises like a tree, its branches spreading in all directions. At the tips of those branches are blossoms glowing faintly, waiting for the touch of another branch to awaken their light. When a spark jumps across the space, the blossom glows more brightly, its petals widening. This is communication. This is thought. The flowers of the brain do not bloom with sunlight, but with electricity and chemistry, and together they form a garden more complex than any on earth. Every experience you have tends this garden. When you learn something new, fresh blossoms sprout. When you practice a skill, the blossoms strengthen, their roots digging deeper into the soil of your brain. When you neglect a thought or the memory, the blossoms slowly wither, their petals falling away, leaving space for others to grow. This process is constant, flowing silently beneath your awareness. The brain is not a static organ, but a living ecosystem, pruning and planting, blooming and fading, always reshaping itself to meet the needs of your life. Consider a child learning language. In the early years, their garden blooms wildly. Each new word a flower unfurling, each new sound a spark lighting fresh pathways. The garden is lush, abundant, fertile. But as the child grows, pruning begins. Blossoms that are not nourished, words never spoken, sounds never heard, fade away, making space for those most used. This is how the brain becomes efficient, focusing its energy on the blossoms that matter most. Yet even as some flowers are lost, the soil remains fertile, always ready for new seeds. At any age, the garden can bloom again. The chemistry of the brain is the gardener's hand. Neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and acetylcholine move silently among the blossoms, feeding them, shaping their growth. Dopamine sprinkles like morning dew, rewarding certain blossoms, encouraging them to bloom brighter. Serotonin drifts like a soft breeze, steadying the garden's balance, calming its storms. Acetylcholine sharpens the focus, guiding blossoms to grow in the directions most needed. These chemicals are not visible to the eye, but they are the lifeblood of the inner garden, keeping it alive and responsive, always shifting with the rhythms of your life. Now picture yourself learning something for the first time, perhaps playing a note on a guitar or tracing a new letter with your hand. At first, the blossoms are weak, their petals fragile. The spark between neurons is hesitant, uncertain. But with each repetition, the petals widen, the connection strengthens, and the flower glows more steadily. Soon the path is strong, the blossoms bright, and the skill feels natural. This is how the garden blooms with practice. Each repetition is a drop of rain, each effort a ray of light, coaxing the blossoms into full flower. But not all blossoms are meant to last. The garden is wise in its pruning. If a path is unused, if a skill is left untouched, the blossoms fade, their petals falling like autumn leaves. This is not loss but renewal. Just as a garden must shed old growth to make room for new, the brain lets go of unused synapses so that energy may flow where it is needed most. Forgetting is the soil's way of staying fertile. The blossoms that remain are the ones that guide your present life, the flowers that continue to bloom with meaning. At night, the garden does not sleep. In dreams, it comes alive in another way. Blossoms spark and glow in strange patterns, linking branches that rarely touch during the day. The result is often surprising, new ideas, strange images, sudden insights. Dreams are the garden's way of experimenting, of testing connections, of allowing blossoms to bloom in unexpected places. When you wake, some of those blossoms remain, their petals intact, ready to guide you in ways you may not understand but can feel. Sleep is the gardener's secret work, ensuring the flowers are tended even when you rest. This blooming is also why the brain is resilient. Even when storms pass through, when injury strikes, when pathways are broken, the garden finds ways to grow again. Blossoms sprout in new places, branches stretch to find new connections. With time and care, the brain reroutes its rivers of sparks, creating new pathways where old ones were lost. Like a meadow regrowing after fire, the garden of synapses is always capable of renewal. Its beauty lies not in permanence but in adaptability, in the endless cycles of growth and change. And so, as you wander deeper into this inner garden, you begin to sense its quiet majesty. Every thought you have, every memory you hold, every skill you practice is a flower blooming within you. You're not separate from this garden. You are the garden. Its blossoms are your thoughts, its branches your experiences, its roots your history. The garden of synapses blooms with you, reshaping itself as you change, carrying the fragrance of your life within its endless fields. And in its quiet, ceaseless flowering, it holds the mystery of what it means to be alive. The garden of synapses deepens as we walk further into its pathways, its blossoms glowing softly in every direction. If you pause to listen, you can almost hear the gentle hum of communication, the sparks leaping across tiny gaps, the whispers of memory and learning carried from one branch to another. This garden is not static. It is alive with constant activity, like a meadow filled with bees, each spark darting swiftly from flower to flower. Within this endless blooming lies the very essence of thought, the quiet construction of who you are in every moment. Every experience shapes this inner landscape. When you read a book, blossoms light along the paths of language and meaning. When you listen to music, blossoms awaken in regions tuned to rhythm and emotion. When you walk in nature, blossoms glow in networks that bind memory to place, sight to feeling, movement to peace. Each act of living is a gardener's touch, coaxing certain flowers to bloom more brightly, letting others fade. You're not only the wanderer in this garden, you're also its caretaker, shaping its growth with every breath, every action, every thought you choose to nurture. Consider the way practice transforms the garden. A pianist returning each day to her instrument waters the same blossoms again and again. At first, the flowers are small, their stems thin, but with repetition, the roots deepen, the petals widen, the blossoms become vibrant, steady, and enduring. Soon the notes flow effortlessly because the flowers have grown into strong clusters, their connections secure. This is why skill feels natural after long practice. The blossoms have matured, the pathways are well tended. Practice is not simply repetition, it is cultivation, the tending of living flowers in the soil of the brain. But the garden also teaches balance. Too much repetition without rest can tire the blossoms, causing them to wilt. This is why pause and reflection are as necessary as effort. When you step away, the garden continues its quiet work, strengthening connections in your absence, weaving the day's sparks into stronger roots. In this way, rest is not emptiness, but nourishment. The blossoms bloom more brightly after they've been given time to breathe. Balance between effort and stillness allows the garden to thrive. The soil of this garden is shaped by experience as well. Environments rich with novelty, with challenge, with curiosity feed the blossoms, encouraging new growth. A mind exposed to art, to nature, to discovery is like a field kissed by rain, bursting with wild flowers. In contrast, environments of monotony and neglect may starve the blossoms, leaving them fewer, weaker, more fragile. This is why the world you live in matters, why what you see, hear and feel. Each day leaves such lasting impressions. The garden grows according to its climate, and you too are both seed and soil. Emotion colours the flowers of the garden. Joy lights blossoms in bright hues, saturating them with strength. Sadness may darken some petals, but it also deepens the soil, making future blossoms richer. Fear causes some flowers to sharpen, to become quick and reactive, while love softens blossoms into resilience. These emotions are not just feelings, they are signals that shape growth, guiding which synapses strengthen, which fade. The blossoms of the mind bloom not only through thought, but through the colours of the heart, painting the inner garden in shades of living experience. Sleep, as always, is the secret gardener. During the night, blossoms are pruned and fed, strengthened and rearranged. Some petals are allowed to fall, their energy returned to the soil. Others are reinforced, their roots sinking deeper, their flowers blooming more fully. Dreams are the strange blossoms of this process, curious combinations of flowers blooming together, weaving new patterns across the garden. By morning, the landscape has shifted, and the blossoms you carry into the day are not quite the same as those you carried into the night. Each morning you awaken with a slightly new garden. The adaptability of the synaptic garden is also its resilience. When storms strike, when injury or illness damages parts of the brain, the garden responds by sprouting new blossoms, by sending roots and branches toward new connections. Neurons that once lived apart may find each other, building pathways that compensate for what was lost. This is why recovery is possible, why healing can happen even in difficulty. The garden is always searching for ways to bloom again, to regrow, to renew itself, even when fire has swept across its fields. The pruning of unused synapses, known by scientists as synaptic pruning, is another quiet wisdom of this garden. Flowers that are not tended eventually fall away, making room for others that matter more in the present. This is not neglect, but focus. The garden cannot bloom endlessly in all directions. It must concentrate its energy where it is needed most. In childhood, pruning shapes language and perception, helping the mind refine its growth. In adulthood, pruning allows focus and efficiency, ensuring that the blossoms of the garden remain strong where they are most used. Forgetting is a kind of pruning, a graceful release that lets the rest of the garden flourish. Even imagination blooms here. When you dream of possibilities, when you envision futures not yet lived, blossoms spark across branches that may never have touched before. These connections are delicate at first, like new buds, but with time and reflection they may grow into full flowers, carrying creativity into reality. The ability to imagine is the ability to let blossoms bloom in unexpected places, to allow the garden to surprise itself with new growth. And so, as we wander through this living landscape, we see that the garden of synapses is not separate from us. It is us. Its flowers are the symbols of every thought, every action, every memory, every dream. With each passing day, the garden blooms in quiet splendour, shaped by the currents of experience, the rains of emotion, the sunlight of attention. You are both gardener and garden, both caretaker and bloom. And in this endless flowering, you carry the story of your life, alive in every silent spark, in every glowing petal, in every synapse blooming within. The garden of synapses reaches toward its gentle resolution, reminding us that its flowering is not only science, but also poetry, not only biology. but also the quiet rhythm of life itself. Within this vast inner meadow, every spark that leaps across a synapse is a moment of creation, a tiny bloom opening in silence. Together they form the living landscape of thought, of memory, of emotion, of self. And though we cannot see these blossoms with our eyes, we feel their presence in every word spoken, in every dream remembered, in every act of love or learning that shapes who we are. Imagine standing once more in this garden, now at dusk. The light is softer, the colours deepened, the blossoms glow gently, their petals open wide as though they are breathing with you. Some flowers are brilliant and bold, memories of moments you return to again and again. Others are pale, almost translucent, whispers of experiences that linger only faintly. The air is filled with the scent of growth, the hum of sparks leaping between blossoms, the quiet unfolding of life within life. You realize that this garden is not still, not finished. It is always blooming, always pruning, always alive. Every relationship you form plants blossoms in this garden. The voice of a loved one, the comfort of a friend, the smile of a stranger, each leaves behind its trace a synapse strengthened, a flower blooming. These blossoms weave together into patterns of belonging, into clusters of memory that remind you of connection. When you love, the blossoms bloom more brightly. When you grieve, the blossoms darken, but they remain, holding the imprint of what was lost. In this way, the garden becomes not only a record of yourself, but a record of every bond you have shared. It is a meadow of connection, a living testament to the way your life has touched and been touched. The garden also reflects your choices. Where you place your attention, blossoms strengthen. Where you neglect, blossoms fade. This is the quiet truth of focus. What you nurture grows. If you tend to joy, joy's blossoms spread. If you dwell in worry, worry's blossoms multiply. Your garden is shaped not only by what happens to you, but by what you choose to water. Even small acts of mindfulness, pausing to breathe, noticing the world around you, are drops of rain upon the soil, coaxing blossoms to bloom in gentler, brighter ways. With age, the garden changes, just as all gardens do. Some blossoms wither, their petals falling softly into the soil of time. Others endure, rooted deeply, glowing steadily even as the years pass. New blossoms may emerge in places you did not expect as the brain continues to adapt, continues to bloom. Even in later years, the garden remains alive, its soil still fertile, its flowers still capable of growth. Aging does not mean the end of bloom, but the shifting of seasons, a garden moving from spring to summer to autumn, each season carrying its own beauty, its own blossoms, its own fragrance of life. The fragility of the synaptic garden is also part of its wonder. We know that blossoms can fade, that memories can slip away, that skills can weaken. But within this fragility lies the gift of renewal. Each day is an opportunity for new blossoms to appear, for old pathways to be strengthened, for neglected flowers to bloom again. Nothing is ever entirely lost. Even forgotten blossoms leave traces in the soil, whispers that shape how new flowers will grow. The garden holds both absence and presence, both loss and renewal, both endings and beginnings in its quiet cycles. There are times when the garden blooms most vividly, moments of wonder, of love, of discovery. In these moments, blossoms open all at once, the synapses firing in harmony, the garden glowing with brilliance. You may feel it as joy, as awe, as inspiration. These are the moments that carve themselves deeply into memory, that leave blossoms so strong they may never fade. They remind us that life is not only ordinary growth, but also sudden flowering, the rare and beautiful blooms that light the meadow with unforgettable colour. And then there are the quiet blooms, the unnoticed blossoms that grow slowly day by day, without fanfare. The steady repetition of kindness, the gentle rhythm of daily life, the small joys that accumulate like morning dew. These blossoms may not blaze brightly, but they endure, forming the foundations of the garden. They are the flowers that hold you steady, the roots that keep you grounded, the blossoms that remind you that meaning often lies in the smallest acts, in the softest moments, in the blooms that grow quietly at the edges of your days. The garden of synapses, in the end, is a mirror of life itself, always changing, always growing, always blooming in cycles of birth and decay, loss and renewal. You're not separate from this garden, you are woven into it. Its blossoms are your thoughts, its petals your memories, its fragrance your emotions, its roots your history. To live is to bloom within this garden, to tend it with care, to walk among its flowers knowing that each one is both fleeting and eternal, fragile and enduring, unique and universal. As night falls upon this inner meadow, the blossoms begin to glow in the darkness, their light gentle, steady, eternal in its way. You realize that the garden has no boundaries, no end. It blooms in you. It blooms through you. It blooms as you. Every spark that leaps across a synapse is another flower opening, another petal unfolding, another moment of life blooming quietly within. And as you breathe, as you think, as you dream, the garden of synapses continues to flower, a silent, ceaseless bloom, carrying the mystery of your mind into tomorrow and beyond. The mind is not carved from stone, though at times it may feel solid and unyielding. Beneath its surface lies a landscape that is soft, impressionable, and always changing. Every thought, every emotion, every moment of attention leaves a mark upon it. Over hours, over days, over years, these marks become valleys and ridges, hills and plains, a living terrain shaped by the currents of experience. The gentle sculpting of the mind's landscape is never sudden or violent. It is slow and quiet, like wind smoothing the edges of mountains, like water deepening the bed of a river. Your brain, though hidden within you, is a landscape always being reshaped. Imagine walking through such a landscape in the twilight. The hills roll softly, covered in a blanket of mist. Paths wind between them, some worn deeply by many journeys, others faint and nearly forgotten. In the distance, valleys cut through the land where water has flowed for centuries, while elsewhere the ground is smooth, waiting for new streams to form. This inner terrain is your mind, each pathway representing a thought you have walked again and again, each valley a habit carved deeply by repetition, each plain an untouched possibility waiting for the first footstep. The mind is not fixed land, but living earth, reshaping itself with every passing of thought. Neuroscientists call this plasticity, the brain's ability to change itself. But the word plastic can feel cold, mechanical. In truth, the process is organic, like clay softening under gentle hands, like soil shifting under the weight of rain. When you learn something new, the land reshapes. When you recall a memory, the path deepens. When you let go of a thought, the ground softens again, ready for new imprints. The sculpting is not done by tools of steel, but by the tender forces of attention, repetition, and feeling. The land listens, and it responds, always adapting, always becoming. Consider the first time you tried something unfamiliar, riding a bicycle, speaking a new word, tracing the lines of a foreign alphabet. At first, the path was not there. Each step you took pressed faintly into the soil, leaving shallow marks. But with each attempt, the pathway grew clearer. The soil remembered where your foot had fallen before, and it welcomed the next step more easily. Eventually, the path became natural, smooth, easy to follow. This is the gentle sculpting at work. Practice turning uncertainty into familiarity, effort shaping the terrain of your mind until it becomes part of who you are. The sculpting is guided not only by action but by attention. Where your focus rests, the land reshapes more deeply. If your thoughts return often to a fear, the valley of fear grows deeper, its walls more difficult to climb. If you nourish hope, then hope's valley deepens instead, its flow becoming steady and strong. Attention is the sculptor's hand, deciding where the soil yields, where the stone softens, where the paths grow clear. This is why mindfulness matters, not as a lofty idea, but as a simple truth. Where you place your awareness, your mind will follow, and the land will be sculpted accordingly. Emotion, too, plays its part in the shaping. Joy leaves gentle hills that you return to easily, landscapes where you feel safe and light. Sorrow carves deeper valleys, their shadows long, but even they are not empty. Within their depth lies richness, soil fertile with meaning, from which resilience may grow. Anger may strike like sudden rain, cutting sharp channels, but these too soften with time, blending back into the larger landscape. Every emotion, whether bright or heavy, is a sculptor's tool, shaping the valleys and ridges of the mind. They remind you that to feel is to change, to be altered, to be reshaped by living. Now imagine standing at the edge of a wide plain within this inner land. The ground is unmarked, smooth, untouched. This is potential, the place where new pathways may be carved, where new habits, new skills, new ways of being can take root. The plain is always there, waiting. No matter how many valleys or ridges already shape your mind, the plain of possibility remains, inviting you to step upon it. Each step is a thought, each thought a mark, each mark the beginning of a path. With time, with repetition, with patience, even the smoothest ground becomes a road well travelled. Even in stillness, sculpting continues. When you rest, when you sleep, when you let go of effort, the land shifts quietly. The soil settles, the ridges smooth, the valleys deepen or soften. Dreams are like wandering rivers flowing freely, testing new paths, carving unexpected channels. In the morning, the land is slightly different than it was the night before. Rest is not idleness, but transformation, the slow and unseen reshaping of the mind's terrain. The gentle sculpting of the mind's landscape is a lifelong process. As a child, the soil is soft, easily marked by every experience, every sound, every sight. As you grow, some paths become more defined, some valleys deepen, but the soil never hardens completely. Even in age, the land remains malleable, capable of new paths, new hills, new streams. The landscape may shift more slowly, but it still shifts. You are never finished, never fixed. The sculpting continues as long as you breathe, as long as you think, as long as you feel. And so the mind is not a rigid monument but a living terrain, always changing, always responsive. The gentle sculpting is the story of becoming, moment by moment, thought by thought, valley by valley. Each mark is small, but together they form the vast land of who you are. To live is to walk this land, to shape it with your steps, to discover its ridges and valleys, to create new paths where none existed before. The sculpting is slow, but it is ceaseless, and in its quiet unfolding lies the mystery of growth, the soft miracle of change, the endless becoming of the human mind. The sculpting of the mind's landscape deepens as we linger in its quiet valleys, watching how the terrain shifts not only with learning, but with every experience, every memory, every fleeting spark of thought. The land within is never still. A conversation, a moment of wonder, a brush with sorrow, all of these are chisels, carving gently at the earth of your brain. Over time, the marks accumulate, turning into ridges, pathways and riverbeds that guide the flow of your being. You may not notice the changes day by day, but across years, the landscape you carry within has been shaped into the map of your life. Think of the way habit sculpts you. Each repeated action presses into the soil, leaving tracks that grow deeper with every return. At first, the path is faint, easily lost in the tall grass of the mind. But with persistence, it becomes a road, then a trail, then a valley so familiar that your thoughts flow there almost without effort. This is why some habits feel so automatic, as though they were part of you. The land has been carved by your footsteps, and now the path guides you more than you guide it. Yet even the deepest valley is not destiny. With time and intention, new paths can be carved, and the flow of the river can be redirected. Emotion sculpts the land in broader strokes. A burst of joy may form a hilltop bright and open, a place you return to for comfort. A sorrow may carve a canyon, deep and shadowed, shaping the way your thought moves through the terrain. Fear may dig sudden gullies, channels that carry your attention swiftly, sometimes too swiftly, toward danger. But just as landscapes in nature soften with weather and time, so too does the mind's terrain change. Valleys of grief may one day hold rivers of wisdom. Hills of joy may spread into plateaus of peace. Emotion is not fixed sculpture, but ongoing weather, carving and reshaping as life flows forward. Consider memory as another sculptor. Each time you recall an event, you are not only revisiting a path but carving it anew. The soil is disturbed, the ridges adjusted, the valley deepened. Over time, memories evolve, shaped by the present as much as by the past. A moment once coloured by sadness may later carry warmth, softened by distance. A memory of struggle may glow with pride once it has been survived. The land changes with each return, reminding us that memory is not a museum, but a living landscape reshaped every time we walk through it. The terrain is also sculpted by learning. When you study a language, when you practice an instrument, when you solve a puzzle, new ridges form and new valleys deepen. At first, the paths are tentative, easy to lose. But as you repeat them, the soil grows firm, the trail becomes steady, the valley becomes a riverbed. Knowledge is not simply stored, it is etched into the land, woven into the geography of your being. The mind does not hold facts like objects in a box, it shapes them into landscapes, embedding them into the contours of thought. Even imagination sculpts the mind. When you envision possibilities, you are testing paths across the plains, sketching valleys where no river has yet flowed. The soil bends beneath your imagination, preparing for future streams. This is why rehearsal in the mind can feel as real as practice in the body. The terrain is reshaped whether the act occurs in reality or only in vision. The mind cannot always distinguish between the two. It blooms and carves with both. Imagination is the sculptor's softer tool, preparing the land for what may come. The sculpting is not done only by what you choose. Life itself leaves its marks. A sudden loss may cleave a valley in an instant, deep and sharp. A great joy may raise a hilltop overnight. These changes can feel overwhelming, as though the landscape has been altered beyond recognition. Yet even these sudden shifts are not final. The land adapts. Valleys may soften. Hills may erode into gentle plains. Rivers may reroute themselves. With time, even the sharpest changes blend into the larger terrain, becoming part of the whole, integrated into the quiet geography of who you are. The weather of thought and feeling never ceases. Stress may feel like heavy rain, eroding paths into gullies, leaving the land raw. Rest may feel like sunlight, drying the soil, allowing flowers to bloom along the ridges. Love is like a steady river, nourishing valleys and meadows, allowing them to flourish with colour. Each state of mind is a climate, and the landscape responds. You're not only the land, but also the weather that shapes it. The winds of thought, the rains of feeling, the warmth of attention. With each shift in weather, the terrain is reshaped, and with each reshaping, you become a little different than before. Now imagine flying high above your inner landscape, seeing the whole terrain spread beneath you. You notice the rivers of thought carving through valleys of habit. You see mountains of experience rising where effort has been sustained. You see plains of possibility still waiting for your steps. You see canyons carved by sorrow, softened now by streams of time. From above, the landscape tells the story of your life, not as words on a page, but as shapes in the earth, as contours in the soil of being. The sculpting is not random. It is your living story, written not with ink, but with valleys and ridges, with paths and rivers. And so the gentle sculpting of the mind's landscape reminds us of our own softness, our own capacity for change. We are not rigid monuments. We are living terrains, shifting with every thought, reshaping with every feeling. The marks we carry are not prisons but pathways, not cages but contours, not limits but landscapes. They may guide us, but they can also be changed, smoothed, rerouted, softened. To live is to sculpt, to be sculpted, to walk within a land that is always becoming. And in this becoming lies the quiet beauty of the mind, a landscape that is never finished, never final, always in bloom, always alive. The gentle sculpting of the mind's landscape moves now toward its soft conclusion, showing us how this inner terrain is not only shaped by experience but also by meaning, by the quiet ways we make sense of our lives. Every valley and ridge, every path and plain is more than the trace of a thought. It is the mark of how you have lived, how you have felt, how you have carried yourself through time. The land within you is not a fixed geography. It is the living record of your journey, a sculpture carved slowly by the hand of being itself. Think of the way reflection reshapes the land. When you pause to consider what has happened, when you sit quietly with memory or turn gently over an experience in your mind, you are smoothing the soil, softening the ridges, deepening the valleys of understanding. Reflection is not only remembering, it is sculpting with care. It turns raw impressions into meaning, loose soil into solid earth. Without reflection, the landscape remains rough, marked but not refined. With reflection, the marks are shaped into patterns, into forms that hold wisdom and beauty. Reflection is the hand that turns valleys of sorrow into rivers of compassion, ridges of struggle into mountains of strength. The landscape is also sculpted by the stories you tell yourself. Each time you say, "I am this," or "I am not that," you carve into the soil of identity. Words are chisels shaping the terrain of who you believe yourself to be. If the story is harsh, the land may become barren, filled with valleys of doubt and ridges of fear. If the story is gentle, the land may bloom, covered in meadows of possibility and hills of resilience. The soil listens to your voice, and it yields. The mind is sculpted by the narrative you carry, and you are both the teller and the landscape that is told. Connection with others is another sculptor. Each relationship leaves marks in the land, some paths that you travel together, some valleys carved by shared sorrow, some hills raised by shared joy. The voices of others echo through your terrain, their footsteps leaving prints alongside yours. Even when they are gone, the paths remain, the valleys endure, the ridges hold their shape. The landscape of your mind is not only yours, it carries the marks of every soul who has touched your life. In this way, you are not only sculpted by your own hand, but also by the hands of countless others, each leaving gentle traces upon your inner earth. The land is softened too by kindness. When you choose compassion, when you speak gently to yourself or to another, you smooth the rough edges, allowing flowers to grow where the soil had been barren. Harshness carves sharp gullies that are difficult to cross, but kindness fills them, creating bridges, meadows, places where the mind can rest. The sculpting of kindness is subtle but profound, for it not only changes the land within you, but also the landscapes of others. Compassion flows outward, carving paths of connection between souls, reminding us that the mind's terrain is not an isolated place, but part of a greater landscape shared by all. Now imagine time itself as the great sculptor, moving slowly, ceaselessly over the land of your mind. Days are like gentle winds, smoothing ridges into hills. Years are like rivers, carving valleys that hold the stories of your life. Decades are like glaciers, shaping the terrain in ways too slow to see but too deep to deny. With time, the landscape changes in ways both subtle and vast, until the terrain of childhood, of youth, of middle years, and of age are each distinct lands, connected but unique. The passage of time does not erase the land, it reshapes it, layering meaning upon meaning, mark upon mark. And yet, within all this sculpting, there is always possibility. The landscape is never closed, never sealed, never beyond change. A single step in a new direction may begin a new path. A single act of courage may raise a new ridge. A single breath of awareness may smooth the soil and open a new plain. The land is always becoming, always waiting for the next mark, the next flow, the next sculpting touch. You are never trapped within it. You are part of its shaping. The terrain listens to you and it yields to your steps. If you look back across the land of your mind, you may see valleys carved by sorrow, ridges raised by triumph, plains of possibility still open. You may see where rivers of habit flow, where mountains of memory stand tall, where canyons of loss cut deeply, and you may see too the beauty of it all, the way the land holds both shadow and light, both struggle and ease, both endings and beginnings. The gentle sculpting is not about perfection, but about presence, not about control, but about becoming. The land is beautiful not because it is smooth, but because it is alive, because it carries the marks of a life truly lived. And so, the gentle sculpting of the mind's landscape is the story of growth. It is the story of change carried quietly within you, of soil shaped by thought, of valleys carved by feeling, of ridges raised by experience. It is the story of a landscape that listens and responds, always adapting, always alive. You are not separate from it. You are the land and the sculptor, the soil and the step, the valley and the river. And as you move forward, the land will continue to change with you, reshaped by each moment, by each breath, by each unfolding of your life. As the sun sets on this inner landscape, the valleys grow soft in shadow, the ridges glow faintly in fading light. You feel the quiet majesty of it, the endless sculpting, the ceaseless becoming, the tender shaping of your mind. And in that softness, you know this: you are not finished, you are not fixed, you are always becoming. The land within you will bloom and shift as long as you live, a landscape sculpted gently by thought, by feeling, by time itself. And in that endless sculpting lies the quiet wonder of being alive. The past does not vanish when the moment ends. It lingers softly, like the echo of a song that has already been sung, like ripples spreading outward across still water. Every thought, every feeling, every experience leaves behind traces that shape the way you step into tomorrow. The echoes of yesterday are not loud or forceful, they are quiet, almost hidden, but they carry power, guiding the flow of your choices, the rhythm of your emotions, the very pathways of your brain. In this way, the echoes of what has been become the foundation of what is yet to come. Imagine standing in a vast canyon, your voice carried outward in a single call. Long after the sound leaves your lips, it returns to you, softened, stretched, transformed by distance. This is how memory works. The events of yesterday replay in the brain not as perfect replicas, but as echoes, familiar, recognizable, yet always a little changed. Each time you remember, you shape the memory anew, just as an echo reshapes the sound of the original voice. And just as echoes overlap and blend, so too do memories, merging to form the terrain of identity, the stories you carry, the choices you make. The brain is never still in this process. Even as you rest, neurons replay the sparks of yesterday, strengthening some connections, releasing others. The hippocampus, deep within the folds of your mind, acts like a keeper of echoes, rehearsing them until they are carried to the broader landscape of the cortex, where they may endure for years, even decades. In this way, the past is never truly gone. It is replayed, reinforced, etched into the living tissue of your mind. The echoes travel silently, invisible yet enduring, carving the valleys of tomorrow's thought. Consider the way a lesson learned in childhood continues to shape your actions now. Perhaps you once touched something hot and felt the sting of pain. That moment is long past, yet the echo remains, guiding your hand away from fire, even without thought. Perhaps you once felt the warmth of kindness, the joy of laughter with a friend. Those moments echo still, shaping your openness, your trust, your ability to find comfort in others. These are not memories you must actively recall. They live as echoes, guiding you quietly, shaping the flow of your life like unseen rivers running beneath the earth. Emotions deepen the resonance of these echoes. A fleeting moment may vanish quickly, but a moment filled with joy, fear, or sorrow vibrates more strongly, its echo lasting longer, carrying further. The brain remembers not only events but the feelings woven into them. A melody that once moved you may still bring tears years later because the emotional echo has never faded. A place once tied to love may still feel alive with warmth when you return because the echo of affection lingers in the soil of memory. These echoes are not passive, they are sculptors, shaping tomorrow's reactions, tomorrow's choices, tomorrow's dreams. Now imagine walking along a shore where the tide rises and falls. Each wave that touches the sand leaves behind patterns, some washed away quickly, some etched deeply. The echoes of experience are like these patterns. Some vanish within hours, forgotten almost as soon as they form. Others remain etched for years, visible even after countless tides. The shoreline of your mind carries both, the faint traces of passing moments and the deep grooves of lasting impressions. Each pattern, whether faint or strong, guides the way future waves will fall. The echoes of yesterday prepare the shore for tomorrow. The science of memory tells us that each recall is not a playback but a reconstruction. The brain reassembles the past using fragments of stored detail and the context of the present. This means the echoes are not fixed. They shift with time, blending with new experiences, coloured by new emotions. And yet, this shifting does not weaken them. Instead, it allows memory to remain alive, relevant, woven into the fabric of the moment. The echo of yesterday is never just about yesterday. It is always shaped by today, and it is always reaching toward tomorrow. These echoes extend beyond conscious thought. Skills practiced long ago remain in the body, carried by circuits that once fired again and again. A bicycle ridden in childhood may be mounted again decades later, the body remembering what the mind has not rehearsed. This is the echo of practice, the echo of repetition, living deep within the muscles, the neurons, the pathways of the brain. Such echoes remind us that learning is never wasted. Even when forgotten by conscious mind, it remains hidden, waiting, alive in the silent circuits of the brain. Even silence echoes, the absence of something once present, someone gone, a place left behind, leaves its own mark. The echo of absence shapes the mind as much as presence. It creates longing, it creates resilience, it creates space for growth. The brain does not only remember what was, it also remembers what is no longer. These echoes of absence are tender and sometimes heavy, but they too shape tomorrow, teaching the mind to adapt, to fill the empty spaces with new light, new paths, new beginnings. The echoes of yesterday live not only in you but between you and others. A word spoken may linger for years in another's mind, shaping how they see themselves, how they act, how they carry forward. A kindness offered may echo across generations, inspiring gestures of care long after the original act is forgotten. In this way, your thoughts and actions ripple outward, their echoes carried into lives you may never see, shaping tomorrows beyond your own. The echoes of yesterday are not bound by time or by self. They flow into the larger river of humanity, weaving the fabric of shared memory. And so the echoes of yesterday are always here, humming softly in the background of your being. They do not demand attention, but they guide you. They are the quiet hands shaping tomorrow's choices, the soft voices whispering in tomorrow's thoughts. Each step you take carries the resonance of what has been, and each breath you draw reshapes that resonance into what may be. You are a living echo, a bridge between yesterday and tomorrow, carrying within you the gentle resonance of all that has come before. The echoes of yesterday deepen as we listen more closely, and we begin to see how they shape not only memory, but also imagination, not only the past, but the future itself. These echoes are not faint shadows. They are the foundations upon which your thoughts build. When you dream of tomorrow, you are rearranging the echoes of yesterday. When you make a choice, it is guided by the quiet resonance of what you have lived. The brain is a chamber of echoes, where past experiences whisper continuously, weaving themselves into the fabric of every new step you take. Think of how a single moment can ripple through years. Perhaps you once stood in a field, the scent of earth and the sound of birds imprinting themselves upon you. That moment may return decades later, shaping the way you feel when you walk into another field, shaping the way you pause when you hear birdsong. The echo carries forward, sometimes so subtly that you do not realize it. Life feels continuous not because the present is unchanged, but because echoes bind yesterday to today, carrying their resonance quietly into each moment that follows. The echoes live in your habits as well. Every repeated action becomes an echo chamber, the memory of the act guiding the next performance. When you tie a knot, when you write a word, when you prepare a meal, you are living not only in the moment, but also in the echoes of countless repetitions. Your hands remember what your mind need not recall in detail. This is the brain's wisdom, to let echoes carry the weight of practice so that thought may flow freely into new places. What you once had to learn with effort becomes natural because the echo has deepened into the soil of the self. Emotion strengthens the echoes, making them ring longer and clearer. A kindness received may echo into your own gestures of generosity. A harsh word may echo as hesitation or fear. Joy echoes as openness, sorrow as depth. Each emotion leaves behind resonance that changes the way tomorrow will feel. This is why even fleeting moments matter. A smile offered, a breath of gratitude, a step into wonder. Each creates an echo, and the echo does not end when the moment ends. It continues shaping tomorrows not yet lived. Now imagine the brain as a vast canyon, its walls carved by time, its surfaces carrying the marks of countless echoes. Some echoes are strong, bouncing clearly across the distance, their sound recognizable even years later. Others fade quickly, blending into silence. But every call leaves some trace, some subtle vibration in the stone. The canyon of your mind is shaped by these endless reverberations, the resonance of lived experience echoing forward. You are the canyon and the voice, the stone and the sound, the past and the present woven together in this continuous flow. Sleep is the keeper of echoes. During rest, the brain replays experiences, sending them through its chambers, strengthening some, softening others. The hippocampus acts like an echoing hall, rehearsing what was learned, choosing which reverberations will endure. This is why sleep deepens memory, why dreams sometimes feel like echoes of waking life transformed into strange luminous patterns. The echoes of yesterday are refined in the silence of the night, so that tomorrow may carry them more smoothly, more naturally, as part of the ongoing song of your being. The echoes also shape resilience. When hardship arrives, it is not faced in isolation. The echoes of past struggles return, reminding you that you have endured before, that you have carried weight before, that you have walked through storms before. These echoes do not erase difficulty, but they guide your steps through it. Each past trial becomes an echo that strengthens tomorrow's courage. In this way, even pain leaves behind a gift. a resonance that supports future endurance, a reminder that valleys once crossed leave strength within the stone. Consider how creativity is born from echoes. When an artist paints, when a poet writes, when a thinker dreams of new possibilities, they are weaving echoes together into something new. A word remembered, a sound recalled, a vision half forgotten. These fragments echo and combine, becoming patterns that had never existed before. Innovation is not the absence of echoes, but their rearrangement, their harmonization into new songs. Every creation carries within it the resonance of the past, even as it opens into the possibility of the future. The echoes of yesterday live not only in your mind, but also in your body. Muscles carry memory, posture carries memory, even breath carries memory. The way you move, the way you hold yourself, the way you respond to the world is influenced by echoes long past. A dancer's body remembers steps. A worker's body remembers motions, a heart remembers rhythms of love and loss. The echoes are physical as well as mental, sculpting you in ways you may not notice yet always live within. And just as echoes linger in stone or canyon, they linger in others. The words you speak may echo in someone else's mind for years, shaping their choices, their stories, their own tomorrows. A small kindness may echo far beyond the moment, living in ways you will never see. In this way, your life is not only yours, it is carried in echoes that ripple outward into the lives of others, into the shared fabric of human experience. You are both the echo and the source, both the resonance and the stone upon which the sound continues to ring. So the echoes of yesterday are not remnants, they are seeds. Each one carries the potential to shape tomorrow's growth. Some fade quickly, their resonance brief. Others endure, guiding decades of thought and feeling. Together they form the music of your life, a song that is never static, always changing, always composed anew. You are both the listener and the composer, living within the quiet symphony of echoes that connect past to future, yesterday to tomorrow, always in motion, always alive. The echoes of yesterday move now toward their quiet conclusion, showing how they are not merely remnants of what has passed, but living guides that carry you forward. They hum softly in the background of your mind, shaping the way you see, the way you feel, the way you dream. These echoes are the threads that weave time together, binding past to present, present to future. Without them, each moment would stand alone, unconnected. With them, life becomes a story, flowing gently across the river of time. Imagine walking through a forest at dusk. Each step you take stirs faint sounds, the crunch of leaves, the rustle of branches, the call of distant birds. As you move forward, the echoes of each step remain behind you, overlapping, blending, creating a trail of sound that lingers even after you have passed. This is how life moves through you. Every action leaves an echo, every word a resonance, every breath a trace that shapes the path ahead. You may not notice them all, but they are there, whispering quietly in the soil of tomorrow. The echoes of joy brighten the terrain, leaving trails of light that guide you toward openness and trust. The echoes of sorrow deepen the valleys, teaching you tenderness, reminding you of the fragility of all things. The echoes of love ring longest, carrying across years, across distance, across loss, leaving imprints that never fade. Even in silence, even in absence, the echoes of love endure, shaping the way you continue to give, to hope, to care. Each emotion lives as resonance, shaping not only your inner world, but the way you touch the world around you. The echoes of yesterday also remind you of resilience. Each difficulty faced, each challenge overcome leaves behind a vibration that strengthens the stone of your being. When new trials arrive, the echoes return, whispering that you have walked this path before, that you can endure again. Strength is not built in a single moment, but in layers of echoes, each one a reminder that tomorrow can be faced because yesterday was survived. In this way, the past does not hold you back, it carries you forward, its echoes steadying your steps. Consider how memory changes with time. At first, the echo may be loud, sharp, filled with detail, but as years pass, it softens, blending into the larger music of your life. The specifics may fade, but the resonance remains. A childhood laugh may no longer recall every face, every word, but the feeling of joy still echoes. A loss may no longer sting with the same sharpness, but the echo of love remains in its place. This softening is not forgetting, but transformation. The echo becoming part of a greater harmony, no longer a single note, but part of the whole song. The echoes you carry are not only yours, they ripple outward into the lives of others, into the fabric of the world. A kindness given may echo across generations. A word spoken in care may shape someone's tomorrow in ways you will never know. Just as the echoes of others have shaped you, the voices of teachers, the warmth of friends, the lessons of family, so too do your echoes shape lives beyond your sight. Each action is an echo that continues long after the moment, a resonance that lives on in the world. Now picture the brain itself as a hall of resonance, each neuron a string, each synapse a vibration. When an experience touches you, the strings hum, the vibrations spread, and the hall fills with sound. Some vibrations fade quickly, others reverberate for years. Together they create the music of your life. This music is never silent, never still. It carries through every moment, layering the echoes of yesterday into the symphony of today and tomorrow. You are both instrument and player, both echo and listener, part of an endless song that began long before you and will continue long after. As we listen to the final notes of these echoes, we see that they are not chains, not burdens, not weights. They are gifts, reminders, companions. They hold the wisdom of the past, the resilience of survival, the tenderness of love, the joy of living. They shape your choices not by force but by resonance, by quiet suggestion, by gentle guidance. To live is to walk within these echoes, to listen to them, to honour them, and to create new ones with each breath, each step, each moment you give to the world. And so the echoes of yesterday that become tomorrow remind us that nothing is ever lost. Every moment lives on in resonance. Every feeling carries forward in subtle vibration. Every connection continues to hum quietly within us. You are a being of echoes, a chorus of remembered steps, a song of lived experience. The past is not gone. It is alive in you, shaping the contours of tomorrow, whispering through the valleys of thought, resonating in the rivers of feeling, blooming in the gardens of memory. And in this endless flow of echoes, you are always moving forward, always becoming, always alive. As the echoes fade into the quiet night, you realize that they never truly disappear. They soften, they change, but they remain, carrying you gently into tomorrow. Your life is a continuum of resonance, a symphony of memory and hope, a river of sound flowing endlessly onward. And in this river of echoes, you are both the song and the listener, the voice and the silence, yesterday and tomorrow bound together in the quiet music of being alive.